Hello everyone, this is the first Inktober vlog. Hopefully it goes up in a timely manner. I'm getting all used to this again. That's why this first video is actually gonna include day 1 and day 2 because I got the 2 recordings done. But on those days I did the art really late in the day, and I had no time to edit the videos, like, at all. It's those days where I'm, like, at school early in the morning, and then I don't go home till, like, 9, and then I'm doing Inktober, and then I do homework, and try to go to bed at a reasonable hour. Let's see, for the first one, it was actually done Sunday night. It's just that day I was doing lots of chores earlier and doing homework and all that fun stuff. I think this is the day that I did homework first and then Inktober, because school comes first. And since it was the first day, I had a lot of that anxiousness that you get, not sure what to draw, where to start. And then it was like the first page in a new sketchbook, so that was like, in the end I kind of fell back with Swift of to drawing Enzio, because last year the first day had to do something with speed or fast or something, and I did Enzio because he's my hyperactive, most quick character. So for Swift, I'm like, I don't think he's exactly Swift. What would make him Swift? Because he's too hyperactive to be that smoothly quick. But I don't know, I just kind of got the idea of him riding a bike to school. I think it's because there's a lot of people on bikes at my school. And if you watched my other video, my day 0 video for this year, you'd know that one of my goals is to work on putting more backgrounds in my work, in my pieces. So I felt like this was a good chance to kind of pan out and have him be on some sort of background, but not one that was overly complicated. Because sidewalks are pretty easy to draw, some grass is pretty easy to draw, you just got little details, and then I wanted to do a big far background, and trees at a distance are not too hard to draw either. Honestly, overall, this was kind of just one that I wanted to be kind of easy because I needed to get over that anxiety, that it's the first page, it's the first day kind of feeling. I went with a very simple perspective, very simple background, something that wasn't going to require too much thought. The part that was probably not a good idea was realizing that I don't know how to draw a bike, and I drew him on a bike. As I was sketching it, I was like, oh gosh, I had to look up a bicycle. I was trying to make this not stressful. In the end, it wasn't too bad because bicycles are not as complicated as I thought they were. When it comes down to what you need to be there for it to be recognizable as a bicycle, as something that looks like it would actually work, there are very few things you need to worry about, actually. And you get to I didn't have to worry about the precision on the wheels. You'll see when I ink it, they're the roughest part, and it's because they're moving, so it's okay. It gives it a little bit more motion to do that. And another little speed bump to this, aside from realizing I don't know how to draw a bike, is I realized that the pen that I really wanted to work with the most feathers on this paper, which was why I didn't want to use the other sketchbook. It doesn't feather as badly. The paper is smoother, but it's not very smooth because it's still a mixed media paper. But it did feather, which is why I keep lifting the book to check the paper, because I'm looking at it is it feathering? Is it really feathering? Is this feathering? I was in a state of disbelief for a while. And honestly, I didn't think it was feathering at first, because when I first started it, the piece, like where I was working on his hair, I was so nervous that I was not really touching the paper. And when I did lines, they were very thin and very careful and quick. Like I lifted the pen real quick because I wanted to look at what I was doing. So it wasn't feathering at first. And it didn't feather even when I did big lines, because I do them, I'm a lot more confident when I do thicker, bigger lines. It's a lot more nerve-wracking to do thinner lines. And actually that's when I started noticing that it did that, because I would linger and move the pen too slowly because I was trying to only touch the paper very delicately, that the paper at that moment, because it wasn't moving quickly enough, the paper then started absorbing the ink and feathering. So that was interesting, actually, to realize that was the thing that was happening. And the place where it feathered the worst was those eyes right there that I did. You can't probably really see it very easily on the video, but I had to go back in and touch those up after because they feathered so badly. It was awful. Probably my favorite part to ink were those tires, because they were the thing that I didn't do a lot of, so it felt kind of like I was doing something new, but I felt like I did it really well, like right off the back there, because they're rough, they're quick, and they were so easy. Because I'm like, at first I was thinking, I'm like, oh, I had to draw the spokes, but then I'm like, I don't, they're moving. I get to blur them out. I actually always thought that was a weird, funny thing we don't talk about a lot of as artists, is getting to take joy in all these little areas where we can cut corners and cheat a little, and where it still looks really good because it makes sense. Like, I don't know why we don't talk about that more, but I really wish we did, because sometimes I like to think about that, like, that looks awesome and it's so easy for me, ha ha ha. It feels a little bit like, it makes you feel clever, I think. Ooh, and this one is almost done, because I am at the part where I did the trees. I couldn't help but think as I was doing these trees, though, that like they look an awful lot like the same kinds of trees that I drew in high school, and I think that's because that's the last time I drew a lot of trees. I think that's what I learned how to draw them like that, and I just haven't really changed it. I gotta do like more proper studies of those. And let's see, here we go, erasing it and wrapping it up. I don't think it was too bad for a first day. It was definitely interesting for like the first time in a long time seeing like an actual background. I would like to point out on these, the video is going at about 8 times, or more than 4 times. Yeah, 8 times the speed, because it's 2 videos put together, and those videos are from 2 days, and then it includes the sketching, and I think each one I did about 2 hours worth of work on each. So I do not draw this fast, of course. And in general, I felt like I did draw a lot faster than I normally do on these. I was trying to keep things timely. I can be pretty timely when I need to be nowadays. I don't know exactly where I started learning that, but I'm glad I am, because otherwise I don't know how I could do Inktober and school at the same time. And now on day 2 over here, I didn't do original characters. I did think about doing it, but I think earlier in the day I had called my mom. It is her birthday on October 2nd. So I had called her and I was really missing her, and when I thought of the prompt, which for day 2 was divided, what came to mind actually was the way we used to eat cake together. Because like on birthdays we would cut the cake and like distribute the cake, but like on days after, or sometimes even on that day, like if it was a small cake, it was just like a few people cake, we would just kind of dot the cake with the tip of the fork. So like you would mark the portions, but then you would just go to town and eat the cake with the fork, like from the big plate. And that was how we usually shared treats. Like whatever was leftover cake, my mom would go, "You want cake?" And I go, "Yes, I want cake." And we would just get forks and eat from the big old plate. And I really miss sharing those treats and that time with my mom. But yeah, that's where the inspiration for that came from. I gotta remember to send her a picture of this piece. This one I think didn't have as much going on in the background, but I still felt pretty happy for it. Happy with it because I don't always do kind of more realistically proportioned people. And I think to do this one I had to look at a photo for reference. A few photos to get those poses right. And I don't know, that made me have a lot of feelings too. This one was full of feelings. And as far as like technique stuff, I felt like I kind of got back in the swing with the Pentel pocket brush. This time I knew that lingering for too long would cause that feathering, so I was a lot more careful about where I was putting the brush. If I wasn't sure of where to like put a line, I didn't put the brush down, pretty much more or less. And I kept most of the lines a lot thinner and a lot quicker so that it wouldn't do that feathering. So for this one, it felt like a whole lot more in control in general, and it was a good way to wind down on Monday, which was one of my longest day of classes. So it was a nice way to wind down that day. As far as the time of recording this, which is actually on day 3, makes me feel pretty optimistic for how the rest of the month will go, because things like this normally would have taken me a lot longer before, and I'm doing them surprisingly fast for me. And so I'm feeling pretty confident that I can do bigger pieces like this. I think that was the main concern at first, was like, oh gosh, backrooms are so much work, it's gonna make these pieces all take forever, I don't know if I can do it. I'm feeling a bit more confident about that now, because these didn't take terribly long. The backgrounds are pretty simple though. We'll have to see what happens when the backgrounds are a lot more complicated, and how it's also going to pan out with all the schoolwork and stuff. But so far I'm feeling pretty good. I feel like it's a good start to the month. I really hope to try and do these earlier in the day, especially on the weekends. I should have more time to do these earlier in the day on the weekends, because right now I save it until pretty much after all my schoolwork is done, because I have assignments due almost every day of the week. Some sort of assignment is due, and I had to make sure that is done and ready before I go and do this. So I'm hoping that on weekends I can do the art first and then the homework, because I don't have to worry about having to stay up late doing homework and then waking up early to go to class. So I'm thinking that on the weekends I should be able to get vlogs up earlier and the posts up earlier, because right now I think I've had to post these the morning after or the day after, because I finished them at pretty unreasonably late hours. So that's what I'm going to work on, I think, next, as far as timing and schedule wise. And looks like I'm wrapping this one up now. So I'll see you in the next vlog, and hope to keep it up. Goodbye.